So my name is Yuri Barrigan. I'm out of Santa Cruz, California. I run the number 65 in the AFM, and I've been a member of the club racing since 1994. Well, I did lots of things when I first started racing, survival jobs and stuff like that. My main survival job was hardwood floors. And then I started branching out down in LA, and I joined the Screen Actors Guild and started working in the entertainment industry, which is different and a weird thing that just started happening. So it's cool.
What got you into motorcycles?
It's a great story. I grew up in Santa Cruz, being at the beach every day through the lifeguard programs, through surfing, really interacting with the ocean. And in April of 1988, my dad woke me up at 4 a.m. and he said, "We're going to Laguna Seca. The 500 Grand Prix are running there today," and they hadn't been there for 60 years. So we got in a Volkswagen van and we drove from Santa Cruz the 42 miles to Laguna Seca, and it was really foggy, and then the fog lifted and the 125 Grand Prix bikes came up over the corkscrew, and the grid was about 50 bikes deep. So it was just this screaming smoke and noise, and it just it blew my mind. So then an hour later, the 250s, the same thing. And then an hour after that, the 500s over the thing. And it was, like I said, 40 bikes deep, huge grid. And I went home that night, just devastated. The sweats, everything. I was 15 years old. At 15 and a half, you could get a motorcycle license in California. So I saved up all my money. 2 months later, I went to the Honda dealership and bought an NX250. It was Honda's first stab at a supermoto bike for the masses that was street legal. So I had it 3 months early before my license. I could go test for it. The day I turned 15 and a half, I took my license test and got it. And from that time on, I was a freshman in high school. I was ditching class, riding my bike, because I lived right at the bottom of Highway 9. It's a famous highway in Santa Cruz Mountains. It leads to Alice's Cafe. I was on 9 till 11 o'clock at night, every single night, coming home late. Motorcycles ruined my life, basically. It freaking ruined my life. I was on the thing almost 12 hours a day, every single day. I rode the thing till it was in tatters. Then I went out and I bought an FZR 600. Immediately started thinking about the AFM, because at that time there was no such thing as track days. You showed up on Friday, you practiced on Saturday and raced on Saturday, and you raced on Sunday. So I immediately went about putting numbers over the headlights, left all the headlights on there, but put the number sticker over it. Safety wired everything marginally, real rough, and showed up at Sears Point, did the NRS school, and went racing on Saturday. Just like that. Got frickin' second to last place. And I remember pulling up to my Superbike grid in position 66, way down by turn 11, with the front row at the starter's line, I don't know if it was 17 rows of guys, all going for the old turn 1. I remember 66, and then in my second race, it was 63. I lined up in 63 position. It was the last two guys, 61 and 60, or 62 and 63 on the last row. And I remember it was down by the corner, where you have the full front straight. We were down by that corner. with all those guys.
You can barely even see the flag go.
I just basically waited for everyone to move and then went.
Yeah.
And then went. Yeah.
I did it at Daytona. Calling everything old. I was 72nd.
Yeah. Just huge.
72nd.
Just huge.
I finished 10th, and he finished where he started.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a time when grids were like really hard and you were just thrown into the deep end. So the novices obviously were intermixed. And at a certain point after experts, there was novices. It wasn't waves. It was everyone on the same wave, all scored separately. So it was like sink or swim right from the beginning, which was good. You know, it makes your learning curve, you know, I wouldn't say actually a learning curve, more of an experience curve is very sharp, very steep. So after that, it just got easier and easier to show up. But it's been a long voyage for sure.
So you did a lot of riding on the street, and you probably felt like you were pretty capable riding by the time you got to the track. And then you got to the track, and you get humbled.
Oh, real fast. You know, at that time, so 1991, 92, 93, Highway 9 was like a mecca. So it was like hundreds of motorcyclists up there every weekend. And I was like right in the middle of that culture. And there was some fast guys that raced, like all the fast guys in AFM, they were up there on the weekends, you know, for the most part, either at Alice's or on Highway 9. And when you're in that mix and you know a road very well, you definitely think you're fast. But when you come to the track, all kinds of people that you would see in daily life that you would identify as not motorcycle enthusiasts or fast people, they were whipping your ass out there on the track, you know, and they looked just unassuming. But as far as street riding goes, a lot of people go and ride on the street, they get into racing and they leave the street behind because it feels insecure with all the movement of cars, debris on the road, distractions. I still to this day have not given up street riding. I go and I ride probably 3 times a week up on Highway 9. And this has been like 36 years of riding up there, 34-ish, 34 to 36 years. So I still enjoy riding on the street. And for the most part, being super hyper vigilant helps to keep that going. But a lot of people want to let that hyper vigilance go because it's too much work, you know, up here and in their daily life, you know, getting up to the road, riding around for 3 or 4 hours. Some people just don't have time for that anymore. And so they get their motorcycle enjoyment from the track only, which I do. I get both. So I'm happy to share time with both track and street. What's important about riding the motorcycle or any two-wheel vehicle is being honest with yourself about what you're doing on the bike. I see a lot of people saying the bike's doing this, the bike's doing that, under braking, under acceleration, cornering. I'm having trouble in this area, without being super critical about what they're doing with their motor skills. And that's just slight things like how you're turning your wrist, if you're actually turning it to the throttle opening that you think you're turning it to. A lot of people say, I was wide open here, or I was wide open there. But actually analyzing if you've turned it to the stop and actually trying to break the stop, you know, exaggerating what you're doing to make sure that you're doing that. Or I'm really good with the brakes, but not analyzing whether or not you're coasting up to a corner and using your brakes to the maximum, or if you're just adding brakes and skimming them 3-4 times, setting your speed, or if you're actually being super aggressive all the way up to the corner, using your brakes very aggressively, and then releasing very unaggressively, very smoothly, and not upsetting the bike. And I've had a ton of difficulty in my riding being honest if I'm being smooth in those respects. Like, not, there's a long block of the bike's doing this and the bike's doing that, and how can we fix that, when really it's we need to fix what's up here and how we apply our movements to our appendages and how you interact with the bike. I don't know if that makes sense to people. Some people say, you turn the bike on, you turn the throttle, you turn the bike, you brake with the motorcycle. If you're just thinking about that, I'm not sure if you're gonna get where you want to be on the stopwatch, because that's the cool thing about motorcycles is the stopwatch doesn't lie. It tells you whether or not you're improving or not on a closed course. So I try and be honest and not so much critical of myself, but just be honest with how I'm operating the bike. So coming back to your question of, do you want to be aggressive on the bike? Do you want to be smooth on the bike? I think a lot of it comes from your physicality, what your level of physical fitness is. If your physical fitness is low, then you're going to be kind of along for the ride and not being aggressive. But if you want to improve your lap time in a speed contest, you're going to have to get animated on the motorcycle. Side to side, legs, upper body, core, and then tie that in with your brain doing things at the right time. Shifts, braking, body shifting, body weight shifting. All of those things come from up here, and controlling that in an order. So I think of things, and it's taken a long time to think like that, rather than get that guy in front of you and cut places on the track where I think I can get that person messed up so I can get around them, instead of thinking things out a little bit more and flowing a little bit more with the motorcycle. What's challenging is bringing focus to every race round. I think when we ride on the track, the main thing for me is to try and find that moment where it could be 5 seconds long, it could be 60 seconds long, where you've forgotten about everything, where you're doing things on the bike without telling yourself to do the things. It's just coming in emotion as a reaction. So there's no worry about work, what's going on at home, what's going on in the pits, what happened leading up to getting out onto the grid, where you can leave everything behind and get in a zone where you're just doing things on autopilot. And sometimes that never happens during a race. And I can think back to only a handful of times when, from start to finish of the race, I was 100% focused and really was able to let everything go and do everything that I could to the best of my ability on every single lap in every single corner. Like I said, that's only happened probably 5 times over 30 years. And when it happens, that's the juice. That's what keeps you wanting to come back. But you're always looking for that zone, and it's really hard to arrive there every single year, every single round. It just doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't come together. Fitness, mindset, nerves, external stress, all those things have to be gone in order to find that moment. And that is super difficult for me to find that, where everything comes together, your nutrition, your fitness, the ambient temperature of your frickin' sleeping arrangement the night before, like everything is so hard to get. But there's other guys and gals in the paddock, none of that affects them. They can have 5-day-old sushi, drink a 6-pack of Diet Coke, wake up and just be on point in all their races. And I can't do that. I treat triumphs and tragedies the same. They're both imposters in your life, because your life, just like everyone's life, we have triumphs and we have tragedies, but it's what we do in that 60 seconds or mythical minute run, what we do in between those two things, that the character, try and be like this. Don't have too many tragedies or too many triumphs that throw you off having a sense of focus of being consistent. So showing up, prepping things, not being too manic or too stressful or too, overjoyed with each individual moment. Just be real linear in your feelings, and then your losses aren't like things that are going to affect you for a long period of time. Like if you were really invested in racing and you were losing all the time, you would want to, like, maybe, okay, this is hard, we give up on hard things. So when I lose, I try and think to myself, okay, what did I do wrong? But more importantly, what did my rival do to beat me? And I analyze what they did and then try and capitalize, because the tracks that we go to never change. The corners are all the same. It's not like a motocross race where terrain's going to change over the course of time. Different jump, different berm size, it's all the same. So when you have something that's all the same, you can really work on what you're doing wrong and improve that. What I would say, though, is that losing builds your fire. And when you lose hard, it makes you want to come back and never let them do that again to you. You want to break your competitor and not let them impose their will on you. And if you always notice, your competitor comes over with a big smile and a, whoa, what happened, bro? They're on top of the moon. And if you are silent in your defeat and you come back the next round and beat them, you don't have to do that thing where you throw it in another person's face. You can keep it for yourself and just move forward and have that rivalry against your competitor. And it builds fire, and it builds ambition on your part to become better. And that's one of the things I like about speed contest racing with a motorcycle, is it really builds a desire to get better. If you haven't tried racing, don't feel like you're not good enough or you're not at a level to come out and try a speed contest. I would say if you've experienced the track in a track day setting, you're ready to come and at least try to race against other riders just to see if you like it. And that the AFM is a great place to come and begin that journey.